Hello there, it's Paul here and welcome everyone. This video, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. It's possibly some form of either a lidded box or a lidded pot of some sort. It might be a tight fitting lid, it might be just something that just lays on the top. Just going to see what happens as I go along. On the lathe here I've got a piece of, it seems quite dry. It's been sitting in the shed for a few months now. The only thing I can find on this is it's got a small crack on the very end here, and it only goes in the top here, probably by about 4 or 5 mil, and it's just down a little bit on this edge. So when I true this up, hopefully all that will go away and there will be nothing else on there. So I'm going to true this up first of all. I'm going to put a tenant on one end first of all so that I can get it in the chuck. Then I may well then put a tenant on the other end and take the top off so that I can use that for some form of a lid. Got a tenant on each end now, and so this grain goes right up to here, a slight bit in the top there, and there is nice bits all the way through. So I'm going to try, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the top here, probably somewhere around there. The box itself may well be fairly shallow, somewhere like that, and I might well do more of a in shape like that, create some form of a lip over the top here for the lid to then just rest on the top. So I'm just using the thin parting tool, and this just means that I don't lose too much grain. I think I will keep that as the base, so I'm just going to mark that first of all. So I'm going to use the spindle gouge just to create a curve on there for what I want first of all. So that's the shape, and it's nice. I've got this dark colours in there still as well. Nice grain coming up there. Just rounded off the top a bit. This probably last little bit of an edge will probably come out when I sand it. So I'm just going to hollow out the inside now. So I'm just using a square nose scraper down the centre to start with, just to get that bottom edge flattened out a bit, and I'll probably then just go down the side with the Ashley Isles scraper just to get the corner a little bit squarer. If I run this down the side, so I've now got a nice straight edge in there. The bottom was nice and flat after going over with the square scraper in the central part first of all, and I've just gone down the edges with the Ashley Isles box scraper. So I'm just going to face this top off now and then put an indent to just drop the lid into. So I think I'm going to do it as just a sort of a loose fitting top. So just face this off first of all. I normally use the skill on this, but just use the box scraper. So I'm going to get this sanded up, and then I'll come back when I put some sanding sealer on this. I've sanded this through the grits all the way up to 600, and you can really see the difference. I haven't applied any sanding sealer. Now, quite some time ago, I bought the EEE Ultra Shine and the Shellawax. They've had the issue in my shed with the heat problem that I had. I do not know whether this product has been affected at all. I'm going to suspect this has probably melted at us at some point. But I'm going to see, that is pretty hard on there. I'm just going to try and give this a go. At the time it wasn't very cheap stuff, so I don't know what this is going to come out like. I suppose it's a little bit like Yorkshire grit and the other abrasive pastes that are out there. The difference is that this one is more designed for a finish, and you apply it on, it doesn't feel very abrasive. Because it does say in the instructions to sand to at least 600. I'm going to put the lathe speed up to about 1000. So I've got a nice wet cloth there where this is applied. And straight away you can see the shine that this is putting on there. I'm just going to keep that working. So I'm just going to take the speed up even further. So I'm up to just over 1400 revs at the minute. Just going to go for the other side of the cloth now to buff it off. Got to say that's quite nice at the moment. Now the Shellawax, I don't think it's got an issue with it, with the heat that was in the shed. It's mixed up okay. So I'm just going to give this a coat. But we're still up at 1200. And I don't know whether that's going to be the finish or not, but how well it's showing on the camera there, but the reflection on that is really, really good. Don't think I will get the same sort of finish on the inside of the box. But that is really smooth and a really, really nice finish on there. So I will get this parted off and then can look at doing something with the lid. I've parted this off, and with the bit that was left, I've just created a jam chuck on here. So hopefully it's going to hold. Trying not to bring up the tailstock on here, and I've just sharpened my spindle gouge up. So I just want to go very gently over this. Just check I've got a undercut base. So I'll get that sanded up now, and I will give it the same treatment as I've given the outside. I've finished off the bottom there, and I don't know how well it shows on the camera there, but I've got a shine on like a ring there. And I think what the problem was that in an ideal world I'd redo the bottom again, but because I just took light cuts, and because it's all end grain, you've got the fibre sticking up there, it's a lot more porous for any liquid going on there. So the edges there especially, I didn't take much of a cut off them. I've hardly took anything off there whatsoever. So it's still pretty porous. So I suspect another maybe coat or two on there would actually bring that up all the same. Alternatively, taking another cut through there just to take it down a little bit further. Just to show you, there's the jam chuck. That was the piece that was cut off from there, and I've just slowly took that down. It's got a slight angle on it as well, to the point of where it fits nice there, and I could just force it on a little bit more on that last little bit, just to make sure it wasn't going to spin around. In the chuck now, I've got the piece that I cut off from the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a lid that just sits in there. I want to allow a little bit of space because wood does move. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tidy up. This is going to be the bottom. I'm also then going to put a mortise in there, and I'm going to use my small O'Donnell jaws. So I'm just going to give that an extra cut compared to what I did to the base of the box, because then that way, just to see if this reacts any different to the finish, because again I'm going through end grain, which will be more porous than the side grain. I just need to measure out roughly where I want my tenon, so I'm going to do that around about 15mm, which is there. Take that down initially with a spindle gouge. Not looking going too deep. Just going to use my small skew. So I will now get that sanded up and get the EEE and the Shellawax on there as well. So after I sanded this, I realised that I need to take this outside edge down to fit this. So I'm just slowly taking this down a little at a time. I think it's still going to be too big, which it is. Okay, so that's now fits in there. That's the lid so far. Hopefully it shows on the camera there. I've got a better finish on there. It does go to show that taking off that top layer, especially where it's been cut off, a little bit more, and you will get that better finish. And I need to take literally all of this top section off. I just want to keep that. Just going to initially bring up the tailstock just to get a little bit of support while I take most of this away. It's at this point I can now decide what I want to put on the top of this. Create some form of a little knob, which either out of this piece of wood as one assembly, or as a separate piece to drill a hole in this and stick on the top. So I think the first initial thing I want to do is try and do it so that I create some form of a knob or something to grab on the top here. It might even be something wide like this. If I don't like it, I can always take it right down and then create something separate. I'm going to do this one first of all. And it's funny, when you do turn things like this for shapes down, it often gives you more ideas. So on this, just going to try and take it at a steepish angle like that. Going to just get that sanded up and then get the finish applied like before. And that's come up really, really nice. Hopefully you can see this on the camera. I've actually got quite a nice shine on there. And get my box, just see if we can possibly line the grain up somewhere. There you go, so grain lined up. It's very, very little movement in there. Now, not too much to talk about this, as I was talking about it as we was going along. I really do like that shape. It just looks natural. Most of my boxes I tend to do always tend to be with very straight sides. There is a very slight bit of movement in there. I mean, we're probably not even talking 1mm gap. Probably doesn't show on the camera there. There's not even 1mm gap down the side there, so it is just enough to hopefully allow for any movement in the wood. In this video I've actually used the EEE Ultra Shine and also the Shellawax. These are both made by a company in Australia called U-Boot. Price on these when I bought these, I mean, I've got a label here. I mean, that EEE Ultra Shine, £18.36 when I bought it. Shellawax was £23.24 when I bought it. So you'd think with 5 years on that prices would have gone up a fair bit. However, I've just done a search on Google for both of those products, and I've come up with two sources in the UK. I think one was called something like wood-shop.co.uk. Google and you'll see that link anyway. Their prices I think were sort of similar to both of these, certainly the EEE, but the Shellawax was nearer the price of the EEE, so they're both about the same price. The second one I found was a shop.makercentral.co.uk. Doing a little bit of research on this, it's got some form of like a members area where you can get a slightly discounted price if you're a member. And Amazon was mentioned on there as well, so I don't know whether it's linked into Amazon Prime or whether you've got to be a member of this particular shop. And I did wonder whether it was a spin-off that somebody has somehow created up using the Maker Central name, because I'm sure all of you know about Maker Central. So what I did, I actually just did a search for Maker Central, went onto their proper website, and they do have a link on there for shop, which takes you directly to that page. So it is very linked with Maker Central, but when you go to sort of like the About section on their website there, it's a company called How to Make Limited, which are based in Romsey, Hampshire. So whether that is something to do with Nick Zametti or not, I don't know, or whether it is somebody who's been permissioned to sort of like run the shop for the Maker Central pages. I'm not sure. It certainly looks like a legitimate place that you can go and buy the products from. If you are looking for something different to try, I mean, you've seen what the results are on there, and I've got to say I'm really pleased with it. So it's just really a little bit more of that preparation work to start with to get that finished quality. Be interested to hear your thoughts on this, and you have some experience of both of these. Certainly do put the comments below, because it will help others watching the video as well. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching.